Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another SLG Meetup. Now, today we're gonna have a different type of guest. We usually don't bring fashion designers, but for that, today is very special because her name is Shantall Lacayo, and I'm sure you've heard of this famous international brand of Latin American roots called Shantall. I'm so glad we connected, Shantall, and congratulations,
no,
on
congratulations
everything
to
you're
you.
doing.
Oh my God, like such an exciting life. I mean, it's like I was doing a story today that like you don't always have the chance to have an Instagram live, to share different stories and know each other. And I think life it's about excitement and doing whatever it makes you feel passion and happy, So it's very interesting to be having this conversation with you actually.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and
Well,
what the
I'm
brand
a
is
fashion
about.
designer. I'm Managua born from Nicaragua. I'm Miami based in the last 4 years. So I've been traveling around. I've lived in Argentina, Nicaragua, New York, and finally I decided to move into Miami to keep, this flavor alive. New York was too cold. And
I like it. I
we've been
like it.
working in the
Yes.
brand years ago. We just made a rebranding and we, changed from like Shantall Lacayo to Shantall. And the whole thing that we've been working about the brand is to keep that heritage alive. When you're trying to get into the US market, it's so hard, to understand a new client. You want to have a brand that it's not just for it. It comes from Latin America, and of course, you need that DNA that represents you. But at the same time, you have to be smart, and understand a lot about the American new clients. So it's like a combination of something new, something international, but at the same time, that doesn't forget the soul of the brand. I think that's the most important thing. So we've been working around. We have different suppliers, but we still work with some artisans from Nicaragua and Latin America. In each collection, I try to investigate, travel, see about other cultures, see about other artisan work, and trying to reinvent what they do or reinterpret what they do and put it into my clothes. So that's what we do.
Now, tell me a little bit about obviously how you reach to your audience. Social media, you've done great. What are
Well,
some
I
of the ways
think
that you do that?
one of the most important thing to show the brand to grow. Well, right now everything it's about e-commerce. Everything's about digital marketing. It's what's coming, for the future. So we are betting a lot in digital marketing. And the other thing, it's about networking. You never know who are you going to meet tomorrow that it's going to push your brand into the next level. So one of the advices that I always have for new entrepreneurs or new designers is you cannot be shy. You are the best person who's going to sell your business. Is if you don't know how to sell it, if you don't want to go out, I mean, you need to. Sometimes you just want to stay home, of course. But unfortunately, like if you want to grow, that's I think that one of the two things that it's very important to make you grow for sure.
What you said is about going where the opportunities are, but staying true to your core values, your
Yeah,
DNA,
I
and that's
think
how
we
people
have. I
connect.
mean, we cannot. Uh, I don't know how to say it, like engañarse. Like you cannot. Yeah, you
We
cannot
cannot
fake it. I
fake it,
mean,
yeah.
if you try to get into a new market trying to fake something that you're not, you're never going to success. I think one of the good things that have happened to my brand, to myself, is that I always try to be me. And you love me or you hate me, but at least you are going to have something, like yeah,
You know
exactly.
what you're getting.
That's it.
Yes, you know what you're getting. So tell me a little bit about the influencer marketing. I wanted to touch this point because I've seen a lot of these brands taking off, right, tremendously through the influencers that are working with the brands just because of the exposure, because people know you, they work with you. If they don't know
Yeah.
you, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how talented you are. So what's your thoughts on
Mm,
that, on
it's
influencer
kind of
marketing?
tricky because sometimes you can work with an influencer that have millions of followers and they can post you and maybe you're not going to have the reaction you're expecting. And sometimes I
Right.
think it's even smarter when you can touch, I don't know, such an powerful, let's say, in my case, that I dress women, right? You can dress like a
Yeah.
very important woman that it's not going to be in social media, and maybe you're not going to know who she is in the street, but in her circle, she's very important. So she's going to open
It's
more
strong.
doors
Yeah.
than an influencer that have billions of, of, of followers, you know. Sometimes you can dress an
Yeah.
influencer who have millions of followers and it works, but it's very tricky because it doesn't work that way. So I try to work with, in the case of influencers or stylists, it's more like a personal relation. Like, we're not paying for people to wear our clothes. If you believe in our clothes, if you like our style, we can share our clothes with you. We will give it to you. We can share it, like we can borrow, you know. So you're really wearing the clothes because you like it and not because they're paying you, you know. So
Right. No, you're
yeah.
building a
Yeah,
true,
so we
honest
try to do that. Of
community.
course, we always try to, if we want to meet a new influencer, we try to do a beautiful gift to send it to them to for they to know the brand. But I'm not very into paying, you know, for people to use the clothes.
Right.
I think there's other smarter things, you know, than that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And I wanted to talk about, obviously, you're talking about the story. The story is so important, and that's what creates this community. If your story is strong enough and is true and it really resonates with those that are listening to the story,
Yes.
then it's a win-win, right? Like everybody wants to be part of that. So how do you build your story to a degree that people feel attracted to it? Like what's the elements that you use for
Well, I
a good
think,
story?
thank God, I don't have to fake it, you know. It's just the way it really is, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's good.
that's
It
what,
comes easier,
every
right?
time that I work with a PR or something, they're like, no, it's easy. It's easy to do it, you know, because the whole situation and where, I don't know, life had taken me, you know, it's been that, you know, like this girl that comes from Nicaragua, a small country, you know, no fashion industry, and like a big dreamer, you know, that
Yeah.
she just like dream big, and she's this girl who used to be a girl, you know, and now it's a woman. Like she's been building that dream, and just keep on fighting, and of course, you fall and you stand up again, and then you fall and then you stand up again, and that's part of the whole story, you know, about how many times you have fallen and how many times you have standed up. And thing is that life and dreams are not easy, you know, especially now that we were talking about marketing and digital marketing and Instagram and all of these. Like we it's everything seems to be, you know, so perfect in social media, but that thing is that, to get
Yeah.
you there, it means it takes a lot of sacrifices, you know, and in different
So
levels,
true.
you know, in different industries, different levels, you always have to make some sacrifices, and it's part of the story, you know. So I think what makes the story
Hmm.
unique, it's all the falling and standing up, you know. Like you were talking about the Project Runway at the beginning. I was in Project Runway Latino America 11 years ago, and I didn't win. I got into the final and I didn't win. At that time, you're like, really, you know, like I was a little girl. You think that your dreams, you know, finished, and then 11 years ago, you won, and you won the real one, you know, like the US one. So it's like,
Yeah.
if I would have won 11 years ago, I wouldn't have the opportunity to be in the show. So life, it's about that. Stories about falling and standing up, and then finally, boop, the the open doors, the
That's
doors
so
open.
beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah,
The doors open. Yeah, no. And then a lot of people is what you said is that,
yeah,
20 years for the overnight success, because it took you a long time to get to where you are today. But I think about the story and what we were talking about, a lot of people connect more with the failures, connect more with the struggles. And I agree with you 100%
yeah.
because look, I just launched my book and it was also a
Mhm.
way for me to share my
You
true
have to send
story.
it to
And what you
me. You
said is
have to
so true.
send it to me so
When
I
you are
can read
true,
it.
ah,
Or
you
where can
know
I
that,
buy it? Please let me
Come on,
know.
Chantal, por supuesto.
Okay.
I'll send you a copy. That's my gift. But like at the end of the day, people connect much more on that story because you're sharing the failures, you're sharing how you stood up, and it really resonates much better
Yeah.
than just seeing all the beautiful things that are going on. Because If somebody looks at your social
Yeah.
media or mine, it's like, oh my God, everything
Yeah.
is amazing, but there's a story behind. Now, I wanted to ask you, since we're talking about this, you just mentioned an experience that you had going on, but what it's been the biggest struggle you've had throughout the journey, and what did you
It's
learn from
very
it?
hard to mention one because, like right now I'm 38. I'm like what I used to, I remember when I was 25 living in Argentina, as a student, uh, a dreamer who went to Argentina thinking that she was gonna knock a door and immediately everyone is going to be like, oh, what a talent. And then you realize that life is not like that, it's not
Yeah,
that
yeah,
fast. I remember that I struggled a lot, when I was in my 20s. Then you come into your 30s, and what makes you struggle in your 20s, you feel more like resilience about, like if the open or if the
yeah,
dope if the doors open or not, you have a different resilience of, but yeah, I
yeah,
think one of my biggest one is how that I had to leave my country, of course. I had to leave Nicaragua 4 years ago. I haven't gone back. I mean, yeah, because, Nicaragua is living in a situation that I can, yeah. And so
yeah.
I prefer not to talk about politics. But the thing is that when you leave your country, and you cannot go back in the same condition that you used to, it's something that it pains you because it's part of your DNA. So that your people's there, your team's there. I still working with them. So I think that's one of the biggest things that, or not having my mother living here with me that we're so close. That's kind of the things that I think that it have made me, struggle. But it's part of life too, and it makes you stronger.
Right. And I think that there is a lesson here, right? It's about leaving your comfort zone, and that's what really will push you to try new things, and that's where the
Yeah.
new expansion in your mind appears. And it's such a fascinating story to know all those that left their home
Yeah.
base at a young age, or even when they were
Listen,
older, and
sorry,
just like,
like
wow, let's
Alvaro,
figure it out. And
after
that's when
that,
things happen.
and after like COVID, everything can come and I'm ready, like I'm like, what else, So
Yeah,
I think
exactly. Yes,
this kind of experience make your skin thicker, So
thicker, yes. Hmm. Well, congratulations, because you definitely have built a beautiful brand, and I encourage everybody that is watching or listening now or later to
thank you.
check what you're